glossing over of the truth, the psychological aspect of an issue. And I'll use myself as an example. Having come from a background of child sexual abuse and physical violence, those things destroyed something in me. First of all, it took my virginity, and but you go to a church today, these kind of things happen. You know, you're raped, or you know, you are going through a terrible time in your home, you're being beaten on a daily basis. Maybe it's even verbal violence, verbal abuse, verbal emotional abuse, where you are made to feel less than a rag on the floor. And you go to church and they say, well, you haven't fasted enough, you haven't prayed enough, that it is well. And they don't address the psychological trauma that this thing does to a human being. The emotional issues are fobbed off, they are waved aside, so to speak, you know, with the glossing over of scripture, just bombarding you with scripture. Psychological problems can lead to depression. Another thing that we're told is depression is not real here, that depression is for weak people. But depression is a killer. So because you are a Christian, you are not allowed to be depressed. You should not be depressed. No, just, you know, chase it out. It's a spirit. Chase it out. You need deliverance. So somebody goes to a deliverance. You have all the people praying for you, laying hands on you, and yet the psychological issues have not been addressed. So, you know, there are some issues. There are some issues that the church does not address. They avoid it. These issues have to be addressed because they happen. So I think that is why practical teaching like this precludes, you know, the impartation, so that the truth sometimes hurts. The truth sometimes is not as sweet to our ears. And sometimes I feel, you know, the Bible talks about sometimes we as the congregation we have itching ears. We want to hear only the good things. We want to hear only the part of the lifting up. You know, there's in my life there's lifting up, there's no casting down. But hey, the devil is there ready to cast you down at every moment. How do you deal with him? You know, so the truth of it is glossed over. I don't have itching ears. I want to hear the truth. I want to hear the truth from somebody telling me that this kind of behavior that I exhibit is what will result in something happening to me in the future. So we need to hear what are those things that we ourselves need to do. You know, it's a two-way thing. Faith without works is dead. So on the one hand, we can ask God, we can pray to him, but there has to be a working. And how do we know what that working is if we don't hear that these are the steps that we need to take? So practical steps to receiving, practical steps to change. So to be honest, I think these kind of sessions address I would say this way, the cocoa of the matter. Yes, like if you have ceiling tiles, okay, let's just use the example of having ceiling tiles and brown moisture patches develop on them, and if you paint over it, after you've painted over it and the paint has dried, you realize that those brown stains are still there. They're lighter, but they're still there. So it wasn't until one of the painters said there's a special product that you apply first of all before adding the paint that will prevent that brown stain from showing. So that's what the church does in many times. It doesn't address the brown stain. It just glosses over with paint, and yet that brown stain will still show through eventually. I'm a believer, I love Jesus, I'm born again, spirit-filled, tongue-talking woman. But practical, the cocoa of the matter is sometimes what is lacking. Personally, I know him, and I've heard some of the things that he's had to say. I've met him once before, and I think that he has sound advice. He has key things that I'm looking forward to hearing. And so that's why I think that it's very important, preceding the impartation, not one without the other. You know, we need both of them, and you'll be amazed at the things that you will learn. You want God to do something for you. So how much is 6 hours? You want him to do something so huge, and yet we want to spend so little time in his presence. It doesn't work that way, really. You know, we need to give him our time. We need to give him our heart. We need to give him our ears. So 6 hours, it will pass by quickly. I don't believe that you'll come to this program and fidget. I don't believe that you'll come to this program and feel that you've wasted.
Free from my past, free from the pain, free from the guilt that would cause me to be ashamed. Once I was blind, but now I see clearly the debt that I owe. Jesus paid for me. No more chains.